imaginations and fantasies. And in the fossil record, millions of years before there were any human bones to ponder. It is this astonishing avian diversity of form, of behavior, of interaction with our own species that the Birdpedia means to deploy to turn a nagging curiosity into a compelling fascination and perhaps a new, more intimate relationship with the natural world. It can be said that a love of birds manifests itself in three fundamental ways. One, as pure pleasure, the first Baltimore oriole of the spring, the cry of a curlew over the marsh. Two, as an ever-widening curiosity that leads to newfound knowledge, perhaps even to wisdom. And three, as a concern for the fate of the world's bird life, now gravely threatened by human recklessness, and a willingness to take action, however modest, to conserve it. My fondest hope for this modest volume of bird lore is that it might provide inspiration for all three. Abundance. How many birds? It should surprise no one that the question of how many individual birds are alive on this planet at any given moment has yet to be answered with any degree of certainty. True, there are a few highly conspicuous species, for example whooping crane, whose breeding and wintering distributions have been fully discovered, and whose total populations are so small that we know precisely how many individuals presently exist. But even estimates for scarce and well-studied species may have large error factors, either because it is difficult to distinguish individuals in populations of wide-ranging species, such as raptors, or because population numbers are extrapolated based on counts of single males, for example, most rare songbirds. The breeding populations of certain seabirds, for example, Lyson albatross, great shearwater, northern gannet, and roseate tern, that nest locally in compact colonies, most of which are known, can be estimated with a high degree of accuracy simply by counting nest sites, though these counts do not include pre-breeding or vacationing birds. But when we consider even so limited a goal as calculating the number of black-capped chickadees in Massachusetts during a given month, not to mention the number of songbirds in India or the planet's total avian population, we begin to appreciate the difficulty of the task. To begin with, simply counting accurately the number of small woodland birds in a 10-acre plot involves much patience and labor and leaves the counter with little confidence that absolute accuracy has been achieved. Once there are reasonably reliable counts for a range of species and habitats, one can begin to make some tentative extrapolations, but consider some of the variables involved. The populations of all birds fluctuate greatly in the course of the year, hitting a low before birds of the year have hatched, when only individuals that have survived the ravages of age, winter, and predation exist, and peaking at the end of the breeding season, when in most cases juvenile birds outnumber adults by at least several-fold. Even small-scale censuses show that some habitats support many more birds than others do, from as few as 13 birds, adults of all species, per 10 acres of woods or farmland, to more than 1,000 individuals in the same amount of exceptionally rich habitat, such as some tropical forests and wetlands. Bird populations in a given locality change drastically during the year, not only due to seasonal fluctuations affected by reproduction, but also due to bird movements. Areas of Arctic tundra that teem with breeding shorebirds and other birds are nearly or totally barren of bird life for 6 or more months of the year. And the already rich resident avifauna of Central America is increased no one knows how many times by the flood of North American migrants that arrive on their wintering grounds there each fall. Population densities of different species vary greatly, making it impossible to extrapolate total bird populations from what is known about one or a few species. Bird populations increase and decrease in cycles and according to ecological variations. Northern finches and raptors experience alternating booms and busts, continually shifting patterns brought about by fluctuations in the amount of food available to the potential consumers. Some guesstimates. Despite the inherent